look at this. So this is a 16-page long of my review of Rundown 5. What I'm gonna do is basically just give you a quick bastardized review of, like, basically going through like each point really quickly and or covering only the most important points, because I'm just gonna like edit this up and put it up onto YouTube. Here's the thing, right? Originally I planned to, like, make an actual like call like a video essay for Rundown 5, a review. But what happens is that, as you all know, I kind of got burned out by the game. The reason why I'm doing this is because I spent a lot of time like actually like writing this up. Like, it's 16 pages. Come on, I don't want to throw this away and let it go to waste, right? And at the very least, make a bastardized video, and then I'll make this thing public. Anybody can read it from my Discord server and into the video description that I'll be putting it up in. Hey guys, you may be on YouTube. You may be on YouTube. So I don't know. Say hi, maybe. I don't know. My channel is literally like, basically minuscule. It's a nobody's channel. But I'm just gonna upload it to YouTube anyway, because I need to grow it. I need to grow my YouTube. Okay, I need to upload something. I need content on it. It's kind of dry. Like, my channel is kind of dry, man. Obviously, like, introduction, don't worry about it too much. It's something you can read in your own time. It's just basically something I wrote as a sort of like introductory thingy about how this is a controversial rundown. This is a rundown that I feel like a lot of people have a very mixed feeling about. Some people may like it, but for most people that I have talked to, they would rather go back and play a Rundown 4 because of some of the design choices that the dev took in Rundown 5 didn't really resonate with a lot of people, and to be honest, it didn't resonate with me as much as well. And of course, I stream this game on Twitch. That's all. Well, not anymore. Now, most of the days, I just stream Final Fantasy 14. So, a few disclaimer about this thing, this review essay. Of course, this is a review specifically for Rundown 5. It is not a review of the game itself. We're not talking about the previous rundowns. We're not talking about the gameplay loop, the graphics, or anything like that. We're just talking about the expeditions, the weapon lineup, the new features, and the current content. We're also going to be talking about Rundown 5 after the mid-rundown patch, where they basically tune down the difficulty of a lot of the expeditions, because initially when Rundown 5 was released, the difficulty balance was extremely out of whack. Like, you cannot expect any, like, not even like new player, but more like the more casual player base to even play the version it came out as. So here's the important things. There will be spoilers for A tier, B tier, and C tier in this review, but however, I made sure to not spoil D tier and E tier, because I feel like the lower tier is something that people would want to work down toward to. It is something that is worth seeing. There are some things in the D tier and the E tier that it's just worth seeing them with your own eyes, especially D2 and E1. With that being said, here is the main bulk of the review itself. Here it is. Boosters. Oh my fucking god. Everyone has an opinion about boosters. It is the main core feature. It is the main thing about this rundown. It is the one that gets marketed, the one that featured front and center. Man, this thing is busted as fuck. Look, I get it. Booster is supposed to be something that spices up the core gameplay loop, allowing you to give like a little bit more customization to your characters, like, buffing them up in the ways that you wanted, sometimes with a little bit of a downside. But it's just kind of also busted when you could have some of the most broken, like, it was supremely powerful boosters, like, provision. Obviously, everybody grants boosters to get provision, because it is just simply the best boosters. A straight up being able to just increase your medical efficiency, being able to just get more ammo in your tool, in your guns. It's just good in every situation. Maps that are made to be stealth can just be lighted up with bullets with these boosters. And then you got something that just straight up is useless, like glow stick power. Who the fuck take glow stick power up boosters unless they were just simply trying to, one, get rid of it, or two, doing a meme? No one uses that booster for in any serious, in any capacity whatsoever. It's just dumb. What else did I say about these things again? Oh yeah, it's extremely grindy. Getting a single booster is extremely, like, it's a very grindy process, right? You go into expedition, you pick up enough artifacts of each type to, and then once you get a progression, a booster progress of 1.0, you get one random boosters. What do you get? It's a complete luck. It's a complete roll of the dice. You don't know what you're gonna get, you know. And then guess what? Always, obviously, when you have, you know, the SSR of boosters like provision, scan speed boost up, people are just gonna want to grind for those. And then what do we get? We got a heat system that just straight up limits your capability in grinding boosters. It's a very contradictory design, right? Heat system, very contradictory. The design makes no sense. You gave us something players are obviously gonna want to grind for, but then you gave a system that is limits players' capability in grinding stuff. It's basically the devs' way of saying, well, you know, we're giving you boosters. It's something nice to grind for, but we don't want you to grind too much, you know. Come on. Come on. Get rid of the heat system, please. Like, who the hell will miss the artifact heat system? Yeah. Will any one of you miss the artifact heat system if it's gone? No, nah. Exactly. Yeah, like, just get rid of it. No one's gonna miss it. And also, why is it that you often find more artifacts in like the A tier and B tier than you find in the C tier and D tier? Like, what's up with that? Shouldn't it be the opposite way around, where like it rewards the players for, like, you know, tackling the more harder expeditions by rewarding you with more artifacts so you can get more boosters, and eventually, like, when you get down in the lower tiers, most players end up relying more on boosters anyway, because hey, guess what? It's harder. So they want to power up their prisoners more, you know? Just so they want more artifacts. Good luck trying to get like even just like 1.0 muted artifact progression of the muted boosters, even if you're 100% in C1. Good fucking luck. When the whole point of the game is die and die, you know, to the game and then eventually push through it, it's no point. It just punishes you for playing the same mission over and over. Exactly. That's what I also wrote in this review as well. It punishes the people for you know, attempting the same mission over and over, which is totally contradictory of the design of this game, right? And honestly, like, I would have preferred much more if the booster system was a shop system or something. Like, the artifacts are basically a currency for you to buy a booster of your choice. I feel like that would be much better. It would make designing and balancing the boosters a lot easier, because I think like what the dev were trying to go through and making like some of the boosters so powerful, because they figure it's just like a 1, 2, or 3 times use thing, and then players are not gonna get them again like anytime soon. So might as well give them the make it really powerful so that whenever players obtain them. But what it does is it just breaks the game. It just like makes one run where you're doing a C2 overload, and then you have a 60% scan speed boost total between your team and no scan speed boost. Like, it feels totally different, because hey, guess what? You don't have to fight the mother at the end of the C2 overload anymore. And also, I don't understand, like, look, here's another thing I didn't write in the review, but I'm gonna say it right here, right now. So it actually is worth it if you actually watch this video and then also read the script, this written review in tandem. Here's another thing. Why is it that you can have a bold bioscan speed that is higher than an aggressive bioscan speed? Like, what the fuck? Just straight up revamp the booster system. That's what they need to do. And of course, weapon lineup. Let's talk about this one as well. Weapon lineup. Oh man. This is something that I feel like it's a consequence of what the community has been like kind of like driving people to like say, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then they get it, and then it turned out to not be as what they expected it to be. People for the longest time have been like yelling at the dev, saying the weapons are out of balance, weapons are out of balance, you balance the weapon, balance the weapon. Well, here you go, the most balanced weapon lineup you can get. And guess what? How interesting this current weapon lineup is only slightly more than the lineup weapon of Rundown 3. And as someone who has been played Rundown 3 before, I can tell you how interesting the weapon lineup was back in Rundown 3 was basically almost non-existent. And in Rundown 3, you pretty much don't use anything but the pump shotgun and the combat shotgun and maybe the sniper rifle. Despite the fact that back in Rundown 3, you have like, oh, guess what? You had the Hell gun, the Hell rifle, and so some other things like the revolver back then was also like pretty much not good as well. There was no machine gun back then. The rifle as a main, which never returned, was okay, not really good. Then the pistol was alright, wasn't very good. DMR still sucked. But anyway, now I'm just talking about the older rundowns. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that the current weapon lineup is not very interesting. Now it's just people defaulting to Hell rifle, Hell guns, DMR, pistol, semi shotgun. Maybe some people also pick up to use the combat shotgun as well. But there are also other guns like the revolver, which should still be powerful in this game. But goddamn, how many charges do you need in this rundown? Especially in the core rundown. From A1 to D1, like how many charges do you need? Because there's so many charges to the point that, despite the fact that back in Rundown 4, the revolver got a buff specifically to deal with chargers, and now in this rundown where there's a lot of chargers, you would imagine that the revolver would be able to keep up, but in reality, it couldn't because it's just straight up too many. And then they add in the sawed-off shotgun in the extended rundown, which is nice, but even then, I think it didn't like answer the problem of the lack of diversity in the guns. The guns in this rundown are just variants of each other. Hell gun is just a single shot variant of a machine gun. The Hell rifle is just basically a penetrating sniper rifle. You got a heavy SMG and the SMG, which in all honesty, you could barely tell a difference between the two. Burst rifle and then the assault rifle, which is basically automatic and burst rifle of the same weapon. It's not very interesting, right? When back compared to the previous rundown, you got the auto pistol and then you got the Hell revolver, you got the burst cannon, the choke mod shotgun. It's just so much more. There's so much to experiment, so much more things going for it. Oh, and by the way, there's too many team alarms in this game. It's like, bruh, of course, if there's that many team scans, people just gonna default to the Hell weapons. Like, duh. I mean, I guess with the addition of extended content, the revolver sees a bit more use because only because there are not as many chargers in the extended rundown. And yeah, like here's another thing, like dev really needs to stop doing this. Stop looking at the pick rate of a gun and then just balance it out because this gun has too high of a pick rate. We need to balance it out because numbers. Why? What is the point? You are not balancing weapons for a PvP competitive esports. There is no point in making the guns in this game extremely as balanced as it could have possibly been. It just makes the weapons boring to use. Like, the dev has that priority completely wrong. And yeah, cocoon mechanics. Oh boy. Oh boy. Cocoon respawning mechanics. Oh man, this is it sucks. To say the least, it sucks. The fact that enemies can respawn 1 minute after you're 2 rooms away is pretty dumb. Okay? It makes going through the level tedious. It just, when you have to backtrack, it's just tedious. People just don't want to deal with it. People are totally gonna cheese it, of course. I remember the first time I walked into C1 and I saw like, that the 2 hub rooms you had to go through are like just a bunch of cocoon rooms and it's all giants, hybrids. Well, actually no, when that was released, it's all hybrids. It's all fucking hybrids. It's like there's basically like no giant strikers and no giant shooter at all. It's just all hybrids. And a myriad, a sea, like an ant nest of small of strikers and shooters and 2 scouts on top of it. It was dumb. Spawn Cocoon mechanic is just straight up so bad that during after the mid rundown patch, we saw in the mid rundown patch that they had ended up removing, just straight up remove like a lot of these cocoon rooms from a lot of the zones in this game. Like A1 cocoon room just got reduced to like a small section of like a couple of rooms now. It just shows that the mechanic is so bad that the only way for them to hot fix it is to remove them. And I think like it would have been so much better. Like it just make the respawn mechanic trigger based. After you do imagine in C1, the respawning room doesn't respawn until you finish the uplinks. Just straight up need a rework. Seriously. Need more enemy types or something. There's also something that where are the snatchers? We got teased a snatcher in the end of rundown 4 and we don't see them at all in this rundown. I think they just straight up like didn't finish making the snatcher for this rundown. Alright, what do we have next? Expedition design and experience. So this one is about the core expedition first, right? So I split it up into 2 parts, the core expedition and then the extended expedition, because I do have reasonably different opinions about between the two sides. So it's much better to just review them separately. The core expeditions, obviously, we're talking about the core expedition after I received the mid rundown patch, okay? So right now, it's difficult. This rundown is easily the most difficult rundown for just like players in general. It's the hardest rundown for new players to get into, because from rundown 1, instead of just like dealing with the normal stuff, now they gotta deal with bulkhead doors, they gotta deal with extended content, they gotta deal with cocoons, respawning rooms, they gotta deal with scouts, and they gotta deal with terminals. And for fuck's sake, who the hell thought it was a good idea to do a generator and cell tutorial by putting a generator into a fog pit that no new players would think about going down to look for it in the first place? And when the zone 62 that has a cell and a generator is so big, people are just gonna have to start using terminals. Sure, like that's not a bad idea, right? Getting new players to use a terminal is obviously something that is, even us veteran players, like any veteran players would encourage new players to start learning. But there's no tutorial for it. Then what are they gonna do? They got the only realistic choice they have to do is to just look up on a guide on the internet or have someone teach them. That's not how it should have been. It should work. The new players should be able to start learning how to use a terminal with an in-game tutorial. I can't stress enough. This game straight up needs a tutorial for new players. And also, of course, here, enemy distribution. Enemy distribution in this game is absolutely fucked. How is it that it is acceptable that when you drop down the elevator from in A1, you walk into the first room, you could either have 0 enemies or you could have 20? That is fucked. Like, what the hell? They never fixed it. They never fixed the enemy distribution. And I think as time goes on, as the rundown like keep progressing, I think it's even worse, because they're just adding in even more enemies than before. They're making it so that more enemies can spawn in one single room, I think. It just makes it even worse. It just makes the game less consistent. It creates frustration from the newest of players to the most hardcore player. How the difficulty of your game is just tied to RNG, and it's just like, oh, you got too many scouts in this pack in this one room. We got too many sleepers in this one room to the point we can't stealth it, when in previous run we could. Now we gotta shoot them all up and waste our ammo. It's like, what the fuck? And also, I think like here that I said, very scripted, very discouraging to play, because this is also something that Ari Fox Stevenson has said in the past as well, and that the rundown, the core expedition feels very, very restrictive. It's just chargers, team scans, chargers, team scans, error alarms. It's just like throwing all these things at you to like, you must shoot, you must be with your friends, you must move as a team, you must stealth. If you don't, you will die. There is no other choice. I have to say that playing with other teams feels no different than playing with my original team. Maybe not as good. Doesn't feel as good in terms of like not as good, not as good of a teamwork or team coordination, but in terms of like seeing what other teams how strategies and how they approach the same situation in a different manner pretty much just doesn't exist because everyone has to shoot, everyone has to be together on a team scan, everyone has to stealth the same part. So there's no the creativity that the game used to have back in from rundown 1 to rundown 4 where people can be can have a little bit of individuality in how they approach an expedition is kind of lost. That's like one of the thing that made me like really like the game in the first place. Like I remember this. Like one of the way I managed I could sell the game to other people is that as long as you know the basics, there are multiple ways to beat a an expedition. If you're creative enough, if you know the basics well enough, if you understand the core mechanic well enough, you can create your own way of beating an expedition that is unique to your team. That is lost in this rundown completely. There's no individuality and a uniqueness of expression between team per team. That is completely gone, even in the extended expedition. The extended expedition doesn't offer very little to any different approaches of a single expedition. Sans A3 and B4. C3, D2, and E1, everyone just pretty much play the same way. And yeah, so that selling point that I usually give to my friends, gone. There's no more of that anymore. So I'm pretty sad with that. And yeah, people talk about how they want to go back to older rundowns. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to go back to older rundowns because it just basically means we have accepted that we are willing to regress our how far we have come in this game just for something that is maybe a little bit better. But I understand why people want to go back play older rundowns because again, for reasons I've said earlier, it's just more fun. You can do more things. You can be more unique. You have more individuality. Here comes the new objective. So, new objective of the core expedition obviously is the S1 scan, right? The S1, obviously, the gladiator style arena of B3 and extreme and C2 overload. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. 5 minutes have to stay on the scan and then just fight for your life. Fuck yes. Fuck yes, fuck yes, fuck yes. I love it. That is like one of the positive thing I can say very much about the core expedition, about Rundown 5 in general as well. This new objective is really good. It's a great idea. You can do so many more things. It can be expanded on. The adrenaline rush was great. The first time I did it with my team, it felt amazing. It's like, yeah, now this is a GTFO that we really wanted. Not necessarily just more fighting, but it's just like the adrenaline rush, the feeling of like you have to be like weary of everything around you, here, there, everywhere. Coordinate with your team to look after each other's back. That's great. But then again, that's it. In the core edition of Rundown 5, the new things you get is just that one new objective and a Charger Scout, which I wouldn't even call it actually a new thing because it's just another Scout variant. So this is the extended expedition, which talk about A3, B4, C3, D2, E1. These new expeditions, I think they're great. They came with new objectives or a new spin on their previously existing objectives. C3, I love C3 objectives. C3 objective of just instead of like having the usual uplink, now the uplinks, the password instead of displaying on your screen, it is now placed inside a terminal. So therefore, two people have to operate the terminal, one for the actual uplink and the one for the password, and then you have to communicate directly between each other to tell which password they are. I think it's great. It gives way more attention to uplinks. A3 also, the new objective is also pretty nice. Password unlocks where you have the password on the terminal is split into two parts so that you have to basically go and find one more terminals. I think it's great. Imagine if that is also something you have to do in a reactor map. imagine the two passwords are split into two different zones, so you have to split to two in order to go and find the password, and then go combine the two passwords, the two half of the password, and then come back and then put it in the terminal. I think that would be great. I think a lot of new, more casual players like B4 a lot because B4 is basically a training ground. Like it's literally the dev just decided to accept that their community needs a place to train their combat, their practice, their combat capabilities. So they gave them B4, which is great. A gauntlet where I had to survive for 30 minutes. It is not for me because I remember when I played with my main team, Kalohe, Kenny, and Wesley. You know, like how you could get two cells to from like two different zones so that you can bring them in the next zone, open the side loot rooms. Even without speed running, the four of us managed to grab two cells within 3 minutes, and that means we had 7 minutes of just doing nothing but kill enemies. It is definitely not made for the more veteran players. It is definitely made for like for the newer casual players as a training ground. That's fine. Solo shotgun. I really like the solo shotgun. Solo shotgun is pretty nice. It's not really a weapon I think most people like. I love it just because reload's a little bit too slow for how much ammo it has. Just gotta fine tune it a bit more. Other than that, I think it would have been a great weapon. And now we go to the new objectives of the extended expeditions. Oh man, so I already talked about them already, but D2. I'm not gonna say much about D2 because I feel like you need to go and see D2 yourself. D2, the objective D2 is something I really really like. It's a good spin on an objective type that I use that exists in the game that I despise. But with this new spin, I actually like it. And E1, well, E1 now has a proper ending. That's all I'm gonna say. Go and make it to E1 and go see it yourself. It's worth it. Currently, the new objectives feels like prototypes. They're just basically made to be tested out among new players, see how the players reacted to them, and then maybe they will take it back and work on it more. Which that's what the reason why I feel that is that because C3, look, when my team did C3 normally, right, it took us 25 minutes just to get to the actual objective. But for us to finish the actual objective, it only takes like 5 minutes. The objective is very, very short. So they had to make the level long just to make it a C tier, which sucks because the actual objective itself is good enough to stand on its own. But we had to slog through this boring as long level, just doing 3 sets of high class number of alarms just to get to it. Difficulty of this game is just boils down to long and more. Like I've already said earlier, long and more. Make the level longer. Make it there be more enemies. Like there's just so many tanks and mothers in this rundown. Sometimes I actually forget they're considered boss enemies because I just see them so many times during this rundown. I just wish that they would stop like you're just making expeditions long and make it more objective focus. I don't mind objective being an expedition being short if it's more objective focus and the objective is unique and fun and interesting to play. And to be honest, that's it. Like, that's all I want to say. Like I'll try to like edit this and throw it into a quick bastardized review for YouTube. But I highly do still recommend if you want to like, a more complete thought of what I really think about this rundown 5, just go and read this. This will be available for the public. And even though I didn't manage to complete my original goal of making a essay video, but at the very least, I don't want like, all of this that I've written up so far to be go to waste. So, I'm doing this. And this will be available. If you want to read more of it, it'll be on my Discord. And when I finish editing this section of this live stream to make it watchable on YouTube, this will also be in the description of that video as well. With that being said, chat, thank you so much. At the end of the day, if you're still someone who enjoys this game thoroughly, then don't let what I said discourage you from playing this game. I am always envious of people who can still have fun in GTFO, because I really love GTFO. I wanna play more of it. I wanna just have fun with it like I used to. And it's sad that I've come to a point where I just don't have fun with it anymore. If I'm not speed running, there's just no reason for me to play anymore. I feel like I've done everything. I feel like there's nothing else for me left to do. I've seen it all. I've done it all. There's nothing else for me to do. There's nothing else for me to go in the game. Nowhere else. And it's just sad. So for all of you out there who are watching this, be it on stream on YouTube, if you still are having fun with the game, I wish you the most fun and good luck in the complex. May you beat E1. I believe in all of you. You can. I believe if you set your mind to it, you can beat E1.